Yo, Sale, all my beautiful people, and welcome to the alternate point of view. My name is Tracy Lee. I want to welcome everyone who is new to this channel, everyone who is coming back to this channel, because you just keep coming back for more, and I greatly appreciate it so much. Today, once again, we are going down the rabbit hole of Samantha Woll. As we all know, I have been working on this for quite some time now. I have even been I'm totally obsessed with this case because I want to solve this case because clearly I think I'm like one of the only ones out there that wants to solve it. I do have a couple of other YouTubers out there, a lot of my viewers out there really, really, really want to help solve this case. Not only because we want justice for Samantha, that is the main reason, of course, is we want justice for Samantha Woll because we do not want this case to go cold. But we also want to take the black cloud that is hovering over Michael Jackson Bolanos and clear his name for good once and for all. Because until that is done, he is going to always be suspected of this crime, even though he was found not guilty and they cannot try him again because of double jeopardy. But they are trying to appeal that. They do not like that ruling and they want to be able to try him again. And I just want to go through the trial and through each witness and show you guys the amount of holes. And I know hindsight is 2020. I know the coulda, woulda, shouldas. But if every police department, if every prosecutor, if we could all look at things back, just look back on things and think, what could have we done differently? What should have we done differently? What have we done differently to ensure that we did everything all possible? And I understand Detroit is a major metropolitan city that is understaffed. It's got so much going on, and I understand their resources are spread very thin. Okay, I'm not trying to just bash the Detroit police department or Wayne County or what have you. I just feel like if you're going to say that you have an integrity unit, investigative integrity unit as far as Kim Worthy has, if you're going to say that you're testing all of these rape test kits that haven't been tested since 2009, that have been or longer, have been sitting in a storage facility, and you're going to rape test kit a victim of a homicide and then not test the kit, that seems kind of, I don't know, dumb. If you are going to say, I don't know, solve a red rum case in less than 2 months in a city like Detroit without literally having, I don't know, the person on the person, I just don't see it possible. You aren't that great, okay? You ain't that good unless you have something or know something that I don't or somebody else doesn't, because you literally said in your first 48 hours that you had a suspect that you weren't willing to release the relationship of to her, to Samantha Woll. You had a suspect you weren't ready to name yet. So you had one. So you knew you had one. But then all of a sudden, like couple months later, bam, Michael Jackson Bolanos, bam, there he is. He's the one all of a sudden. Nope, doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. And when we go through all of these witness testimonies, you are going to see how it doesn't work like that. It doesn't math. It's kind of like Joe Biden's presidential term and how Kamala is all of a sudden the Democratic candidate. Yeah, that doesn't math. She literally had like the worst, lowest ratings of any vice president in history. And now she's here. Like, what? I mean, I was born at night, but it wasn't last night, y'all. I mean, come on, Detroit. Let's do something about this. Let's wake up and smell the coffee. Unfortunately, though, for you guys, this next witness that I have coming up, I'm gonna put her on like double the speed because, hunties, y'all, let me tell you, she is I don't want to say boring. Let's just say she's monotone. But we're going to have to play her testimony because she is one of the technicians that went to the scene. And yeah, we got to play her because she goes on there for like a couple of days. It's tough. She's tough to watch, but we have to watch her. And if I got to sit through it again and find all the questions, y'all got to sit through it again, because this is important. This is going to show y'all exactly where stuff was missed, what stuff wasn't asked. Of course, like I said, the jury is allowed to ask questions, but they didn't ask questions. So to Jeffrey anyway, sometimes the jurors didn't have questions for some of the witnesses, and sometimes they did. So it just depended on what the jury felt like. But I am going to go through, I would like to go through this technician's testimony, because she is very dull. Sorry, did I use the right word? Dull. I'm probably going out of order because I want to get her out of the way, because she is very dull. So I think this is all of her testimony. Also, when I type stuff in to look for these people's testimony, it doesn't exactly come in the right order as I would like it to. Much like this, I believe, is also not in the correct order. So we will see. So let's just get on her.
To document the crime scene, to collect and preserve evidence for further processing.
And do you have to go through any sort of training to be in the role that you have with the Detroit Police Department?
Yes.
And what does that sort of training consist of?
I have a bachelor's degree in general biology. I have a post-bachelor's degree in forensic investigation. I was certified for forensics investigation, crime scene processing, and I was trained on the job.
And as part of your job, did you have the opportunity to process a crime scene located at 1366 Joliet Place on October 21st of 2023?
I did.
And when you arrived to that scene, were you alone or were you with a partner?
I was with a partner.
And when you got to the scene, was there anyone else present on scene at that point?
Yes.
And who was present at that point?
Responding officers were present on scene.
And were there any personnel from homicide or any other divisions of the Detroit Police Department present at that point?
I do not recall exactly when individuals showed up versus when I may have seen them. I do know that I recall seeing Commander Sadek on scene, Sergeant Zhao from homicide, Lieutenant Thoroughkill from homicide, and other members of homicide.
Okay, and what time approximately did you and your partner arrive at the scene?
Approximately 7:40 a.m.
And approximately how long did you stay on scene working to process it?
Until approximately 7 p.m.
Okay. And can you describe for the jury, just in general terms, what was the work that you and your partner did to process this particular crime scene?
I documented the scene through photographs. I assisted in the search, marking, and collection of evidence.
Okay, and you mentioned photographs. I'm holding what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 10. Have you had an opportunity to review some of the photographs that you took in preparation for testifying today?
I have.
And to the extent that you reviewed those photographs, do those photographs fairly accurately depict what you actually observed when you were processing the scene back on October 21st, 2023?
Yes.
And is it your understanding that a substantial portion of those photographs, not all of them, but a substantial portion of them are on this disc marked as Proposed Exhibit 10?
It is my understanding.
Your Honor, I move to admit Proposed Exhibit 10.
People time to be admitted.
And may I publish, Your Honor?
Okay.
And Your Honor, do you mind if I sit down while it's going?
No, no.
Okay, I don't want to, I'm not going to walk through each and every one of these photos, but I do have some sort of specific questions about different photos on Exhibit 10. So starting with page 1 of Exhibit 10, what are we looking at here?
This is a photo card. It is to identify the photos that follow for where they are taken, the report number, the crime as we are told on dispatch, who is there from the crime scene services unit to process the scene.
Okay, and how about page 2 of Exhibit 10? What does that depict?
This is a wide shot showing the apartments 1368 and 1370 and the decedent on the walkway in front of those apartments.
Now, is there anything that was placed over the victim when you were on scene?
Prior to my arrival, a sheet was placed
And do you know what the purpose of that was?
to cover the decedent from any unauthorized viewing prior to the medical examiner coming to the scene.
I'm sorry, is she speculating or does she know this as a matter of fact, the reason why she was placed upon?
You know?
I can attest to that is the general reason why I'm told it is placed on.
And if we go to page 8 of Exhibit 10, what are we looking at here?
A medium range photograph facing away from the apartment towards the sidewalk with the decedent.
And page 10, does that just bring us closer?
Yes.
Now I'm going to move my cursor toward the right side of the screen. You see where my cursor is here?
Yes.
What was located here based on your observations?
Suspected blood.
What was the condition that that blood was in at the time that you observed it?
Some of the suspected blood was still, I shall use the word damp, wet.
And if we look at page 15, what does page 15 show us?
A closer photograph of suspected blood.
And how about page 18?
This is a photograph of the decedent with the sheet having been taken off.
Now, at some point, did someone from the medical examiner's office arrive on scene?
Yes.
And what happened when that individual arrived on scene?
The sheet was removed. The decedent was documented on scene
Okay.
through photographs.
And at that point in time, were you present for that?
Yes.
And did you observe anything of significance during that point in time?
I observed multiple suspected laceration wounds to her neck area.
And if we look at page 28 of Exhibit 10, what does that show?
A photograph of the decedent's neck with a suspected laceration wound.
And how about page 29, what does that show?
Another photograph of the decedent's neck with suspected laceration wounds.
Now, did you have an opportunity to observe the sidewalk area near the victim?
Yes.
And was there anything significant that you observed on the sidewalk?
There was suspected blood drops between the sidewalk and the decedent.
And so if you look at some of these pages, for example, 34 through roughly 39, what do those pages depict?
The suspected blood droplets and following them as they travel in an undetermined direction.
Okay. And were you able to ultimately follow those blood drops to any particular area?
Yes.
And what was that area that the blood drops took you to, so to speak?
1366 Juliet.
Okay. And if we look at, for instance, page 53, what are we looking at now?
The front walkway and porch area in front of 1366 Juliet.
And how about page 55? What does that depict?
The area directly in front of the front door of 1366 Juliet.
And what does page 57 show?
The ground directly in front of 1366 Juliet, the front door with the numbers on it.
And can you describe what the very front door was like?
The front door consisted of a storm door with a screen and glass pane. It also consisted of a wooden door.
Okay. And if you look at, for instance, page 64, are one or both of those doors open at this point?
Both doors are open at that point.
Okay. And just in general terms, when you actually went inside of the unit, what were your immediate observations?
There was a large amount of suspected blood in the front hallway. That there appeared to be something knocked over on the dining room table.
Okay. And if we look at page 65, what do we see here?
The front foyer area leading to the front hallway with suspected blood on the floor.
And so moving through some of these, how about 72? What does that show us?
The front foyer area with suspected blood on the floor and a pair of shoes that have appeared to be disturbed.
And how about page 74? What does that show us?
The front hallway from the front foyer with suspected blood on the floor, walls, stairs, stair banisters.
And what does page 77 show us?
The front hallway showing more of the south wall with the suspected blood.
And how about page 79? What does that show us?
The dining room area off of the kitchen and front foyer.
And was there anything significant that you observed in the dining room area?
The disturbed fruit and fruit bowl
And where was the fruit bowl located?
on the table.
And page 78, what does that show?
The disturbed or suspected disturbed fruit on the floor.
And how about page 81? What does that show us?
The dining room table with the suspected disturbed fruit bowl and fruit.
And in the kitchen area, was there anything notable that you observed?
I did not observe any suspected blood in the kitchen. There appeared to be minimal obvious disturbance to the kitchen area.
And where is the kitchen located relative to the dining room area and the living room area?
The kitchen is between the dining room and the living room.
Looking at page 86, what does 86 show?
86 shows the kitchen sink.
Was there anything notable near the kitchen sink that you observed?
There was a knife and other cutlery items next to the kitchen sink.
Did any of those items appear to you to have any suspected blood on them?
I did not observe any suspected blood on the knife at the time of processing.
And if we look at 88, is that one of the knives that was observed in the kitchen?
Yes.
If we look at page 95, what are we looking at this point?
The living room from the kitchen.
And how about 96?
The same as the previous picture, moving forward into the living room.
And were there any significant observations that you made in the living room?
There appeared to be items surrounding the couch that were consistent with there have been a possible struggle.
And did you observe any more suspected blood in the living room?
Yes.
And where was that blood located?
There was blood located in front of the couch and along the north edge of the living room where the front hallway opened to.
And if we look at page 100, what does that show us?
The living room from the northwest corner showing the front hallway area and the entrance to the kitchen.
And where's the front door located that you would have to enter into from the front? Is that viewable in this photo?
Yes, it is in the top left corner.
And 101, what does that show us?
A glass door to the backyard area of the apartment.
Okay. And how about 102, what does that show us?
A close-up of a lock on the glass door.
Okay. And in the this first one, 101, is that the position that you found the lock in when you came into the residence?
Yes,
And would that be in the locked position or unlocked position?
that particular one would be in the unlocked position.
Just to clarify, so 102, does this show us locked or unlocked? If you know.
I do not know for certain.
In moving into the living room, 105, what does that show us?
The area directly in front of the couch.
And how about 107, what does that show us?
The area in front of the couch from the south side of the couch.
And was there anything significant in terms of physical evidence that you observed around the area of the couch?
There was suspected blood visible in this photo. A green vape type pen observed towards the upper left corner.
And looking at 109, what does that show us?
The area between an ottoman and the couch and a bowl of or container of dates.
Dates?
Yes.
Okay. And this might be a silly question, but the yellow object that's shown in that photo, what was that?
Banana peel.
And was it just a peel, or was there a banana tube in there?
To the best of my recollection, just the banana peel.
Okay. And looking at 111, what's the object depicted next to just the left of the two pillows?
A flip-flop.
And was I guess a second corresponding flip-flop identified?
I do not recall off the top of my head.
Okay. And looking at 112, what's the green object that's depicted toward the middle of the screen?
The vape type pen.
And did you at some point use some evidence placards to mark some items?
Yes,
And what's the purpose of using placards for marking items when you're at a crime scene processing it?
to help visually place items in photographs, particularly items that may be too small to be visible in a wider shot, and to associate a number with evidence.
Okay, looking at page 117, you see the placard number 1 indicated there.
Yes,
And what was placard number 1 placed there for?
a contact lens.
And if we look at slide 118 on exhibit 10, what does that show us?
A closer image of placard 1 and the contact lens.
And where was that located again relative to the couch?
That was located northwest of the couch.
Was that in the living room?
In the living room, yes.
Now, looking at page 128, what does that show us?
The area north of the living room couch could the term still as the front hallway. And the floor with suspected blood.
And if we look at 129, are we just moving now closer to the front door from the living room?
Yes.
Okay, now was there anything significant about the suspected blood in this area that caught your attention?
There was suspected feet impressions in the blood.
Now, in your experience processing crime scenes, are you familiar with the difference between the type of impression that could be left by a barefoot as opposed to a shoe?
I'm not an expert in footwear or feet impressions.
Okay, and so would you be comfortable testifying as to the nature of the impressions in these photos?
No.
Okay. Looking further on page 131, what are we looking at here?
A laptop on a side table at the north edge of the couch with suspected blood.
Okay, and how about 133? What does that depict?
The area north of the couch, or what can still be considered part of the front hallway floor, and the stairs to the basement behind them.
And does 139 show more of that basement staircase?
Yes.
And just kind of looking at 138, what does that show us?
The banister to the basement stairwell with a suspected blood droplet.
And did you see any other suspected blood on the basement staircase itself?
Yes.
And where was that blood positioned, if you recall?
There was suspected blood positioned along multiple steps of the stairs and along the far wall of the stairwell.
Okay, and looking at page 145, are we still near the basement stairs in this photo?
Yes.
And looking at
Okay, so I just want to give my 2 cents on the blood droplets on the stairwell, basement, and the staircase railing. So a lot of blood was pooled right there in that hallway area. That's where a lot of it was. And this is just proving more that there was a struggle. What she's talking about, she's saying there were the fruit bowl. Okay, the fruit bowl again. They keep mentioning this fruit bowl. The fruit was thrown in the floor. The bowl was tossed over. It doesn't mean that there was like a violent struggle there because the roses are still sitting on the table. So it wasn't like it could have just been someone bumped it a little bit. But the fruit being tossed in the floor is very important. Also, she mentions that, and the other guy mentioned as well, even though I don't know if he actually went in alone. I think he saw this when they all went in together. But they mentioned the same thing, the bloody laptop. Okay, where is this laptop? Also, they mentioned the bowl of dates. He said they're beets. I think he called them beets, but she said dates. The contact lens on the floor. Now, I don't wear contacts, as you can see. I wear glasses. So I don't know how hard you would have to be hit to lose a contact lens. If anyone is watching and you can tell me how easily does a contact lens fall out? Please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say because I don't know. But clearly, I would like to see, I actually want to go back and look at that picture of the contact lens and see if there's any blood on it, because that would be interesting and a tell sign as well, because what happened for her contact lens to come out? And, you know, there had to be a struggle. There has to be a struggle in that living room area. And in order for Michael Jackson Bolanos to have done this to her, I mean, he would have had to have been all over that apartment. And I'm not exactly saying that Jeffrey has to be the one that have done this, but someone was in that apartment with her. Someone was in there. Someone struggled with her, and how they came up with zero evidence to link another person in there makes zero sense. Okay. It doesn't math. All right. It just doesn't. So she's talking about the fruit on the floor. She's talking about the kind of struggle looking stuff. She even says it herself, struggle in the living room. It looks like a struggle occurred in the living room. So almost everyone is on the same page with this in the living room situation. Okay. That something occurred in the living room. Her flip-flop is there. Her contact lens is thrown and it's on the tile floor between the carpet and the tile. It's right there on the tile. So something is strange about what occurred in this living room area. I think the droplets that they found on the basement floor, at first I thought it was a possibility that it could be the person that did this, maybe possibly was trying to go out through the basement door and thought better of it because they saw that it was locked. And that's where the droplets came from. But possibly the droplets came from Samantha herself trying to get up out of the floor, and she just dripped blood by leaning over. But I'm not sure how much blood there is on the actual railing. So I'm just guessing. I'm just hypothesizing. So, but she's the second person to say struggle. Okay. This is, everyone has the same idea, but because they're trying to put this on Michael, this doesn't fit their narrative and their timeline to say that they actually got into a altercation, because there wouldn't be enough time for that. And he was not covered in any amount of blood whatsoever. So, and I have talked to one of the detectives on this case, and he told me the autopsy was complete. So I'm curious to see what the autopsy actually says, because they're saying the autopsy was complete. In order for that to have actually been complete, there would have had to have been like zero blood come out of her body in the midst of this attack for him to get zero blood on him. As bloody as they are saying the scene was. And she's the second person to come up and talk about how bloody this scene is. So there's just blood everywhere. So how is it possible? I'm just trying to figure out. But I'd like to know, what does it take for contact to come out of your eyeball?
Page 150, does this show part of the staircase going downward?
Yes.
And how about 150? About 155.
Yes.
Okay, and looking at 159, you see the placard that's marked as placard number 2.
Yes.
And what did placard number 2 get positioned next to signify?
The green vape type pen.
Okay, and if we look at exhibit 160, is that just a closer up of that?
Yes.
Okay, and how about page 161? What does placard number 3 mark?
The gray laptop.
And just look at, for instance, page 167. What are we looking at there?
Papers that were on the side table underneath the gray laptop with suspected blood.
And
Again with the laptop.
how about 171? What are we looking at here?
Papers and a receipt that were on a table at the northwest corner of the living room next to the stairs going to the upper level.
Okay, and was there any suspected blood in that general area of the living room?
Not to my recollection.
And if we look at page 174, what does that show us?
The stairs going up to the upper level.
And did you also look upstairs when you were at the scene?
Yes.
And just starting with page 177, are we looking upstairs at this point?
Yes.
Okay. And what in general was upstairs in terms of the configuration of the residence?
There was 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a room utilized as an office space.
Okay. And if we look at page 180, where are we looking at now?
The southwest bedroom.
Okay. And 182, is this the same room?
Yes.
Okay.
So she changed her clothes. There's her dress.
About 100 and how about 195?
The bathroom upstairs.
Okay. And in terms of evidence that was collected or processed, was there anything significant that you found upstairs?
We collected 4 trace DNA swabs from different items upstairs.
Okay. And what's your purpose for swabbing items for DNA when you're at a crime scene like this one?
For any touch DNA that may have been left on an item to be processed later.
From where, though? They just said,
And,
that they collected
looking at page
4 DNA swabs.
199 and 200, are we in a different bedroom now upstairs?
Yes.
And was there anything significant that you observed in this bedroom?
The clothing was on the bed, observed, and the open drawer on the storage unit.
Okay. And then you also mentioned there was a room utilized as an office upstairs.
Correct.
And looking at page 208, are we looking at that room now?
Yes.
And was there anything significant you observed in the office?
The office seemed to have minimal obvious disturbance, and there was an ADT security panel in the office.
Okay. And if we look at page 216, can you see that panel on that picture?
Yes.
And was that on, I guess, like that when you observed it?
To the best of my recollection, that was the state that it was in, with the screen being illuminated.
Now going back outside, you see that's page 218. You see the blue sign by the window.
Yes.
And what was that sign?
Hold on, I
The
just
ADT
want to go back to
Can you
something
observe
real
in the
quick.
office?
The office seemed to have minimal obvious disturbance, and there was an ADT security panel in the office.
Okay. And if we look at page 216,
If he
can
just
you see,
zipped right through this
that panel
thing.
on that picture?
Yes.
And was that on, I guess, like that when you observed it?
To the best of my recollection, that was the state that it was in, with the screen being illuminated.
Not ready to arm. Fault chime. Not ready to arm. I don't know what that means. Not ready to arm. Fault chime. Okay. I'm just making a note of that because I'm curious as to what this means. If anyone has an ADT alarm system, please let me know what that means. I'll ask my boyfriend. He used to work for ADT, but it's been a long, long time, so he probably doesn't remember a whole lot. But I am curious as to what that means. Not ready to arm. Usually when it says not ready to arm, I'm guessing that would mean that it's already armed. But I know there's away, there's home, there's stay. There's different types of arming for an alarm system. My friend used to have ADT, and now she has something else. But we'll keep going.
Now going back outside, you see it's page 218. You see the blue sign by the window.
Yes.
And what was that sign?
An ADT security sign.
And looking at page 228, where are we looking at here?
A key box on the front door.
And when you observed that key box, was that key box locked or unlocked?
The key box was initially closed but not locked.
And was there anything inside of the box when you observed inside the box?
No.
Okay. How about page 231? What are we looking at here?
The front door and the sensors.
And Your Honor, may I approach with our high tech cleaner? Yes, ma'am. Could you point?
Okay, so I just want to point out again, the key box was closed but not locked. And also keep in mind that they found the key on the ground. So either Samantha used her own key to get into her house, or someone else used it because it was out on the ground. So I don't understand why this wasn't a suspicious question for anyone to ask. Like, what the heck? And also these sensors here on the door, these are going to be very important later when the ADT alarm witness gets on the stand. These are very important pieces of the puzzle that they're hinging their entire prosecution on.
Point out on page 231 where the sensors are.
Here and here.
Okay, and this is the front door of the residence again, correct?
Correct.
Looking at page 233, again, just to reorient ourselves, where are we looking at in the home at this point?
The front foyer area leading to the front hallway.
Okay, and is there anything significant that's depicted here?
There is a key on a keychain on the floor.
Okay, and if we go to page 236, is that the same key just closer up?
Yes.
And same for page 237?
Yes.
Okay, so there's the key. There is blood on the key, which tells me that that key was obviously taken out of the box prior to her attack. So did she take the key out or did someone else take the key out? So, and you can see there's this blood, there's blood in the cracks. Okay. So who got the key?
Just as an example, looking at page 248, what is the marker that's depicted on the wall here?
And that spatter on the wall that just passed, by the way, that they're trying to not show, that is I'm having a brain fart right now. That is called cast off. So when you do this and you take the weapon out, cast off. Whoosh, 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 okay, cast off. That means there had to be blood. So what they're saying, that no major arteries were hit, I mean, there's still blood. Okay, obviously, it's a very, very bloody scene. That's what everyone is pretty cohesive about. It is very, very bloody. It's even on the walls. Okay, it's bloody. So there's no way that whomever went in there and did this did not walk out of there unscathed. So I'm just curious to see who it could have been. But it couldn't be Michael. I'm not saying that Michael is like some dumb criminal or anything, but if this was going to be his first, deletion in his life, I'm pretty sure he would have left a lot of evidence behind. This is going to be his first time. He's just going to go from checking cars to all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm going to take someone out because holy crap, this is my first time going into someone's house and oh no, someone's home. I'm going to beat the crap out of them and take them out. And it's my first time. I don't know what I'm doing. Evidence everywhere. There'd be evidence everywhere. Yeah, he's not some mastermind, no, that's not how this works.
They scale.
And what's the purpose of that sort of marker?
To allow experts analyzing photographs taken to determine size of suspected blood.
Okay, and did you or your partner place some of the scales that are observed in some of these photos?
Yes.
Okay. And so if we look at 252 and 253, is that another scale?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of placing the scale observed here on page 253?
To document the suspected foot impression and the suspected blood to scale.
Okay. Looking at page 266, what do we see here?
The Michigan driver's license for Samantha Woll.
And we go back to 265. Where was that position?
On the bench in the front foyer.
Okay, is that right near the front door?
Yes.
Okay, now I want you all also to keep in mind that these pictures are all set up. Samantha didn't have her driver's license sitting out like that. These were all set up to be taken by the evidence techs themselves. They took all of her stuff out of her purse, out of her wallet, all of that. So a lot of this is staged evidence pictures. These aren't pictures that were taken as is. Okay, this is to show that, yes, this is Samantha's wallet. This is Samantha's house. This all belongs to Samantha, which also in turn shows that nothing was taken as far as they know from Samantha's house. Her money, her wallet, her purse, her computer, her laptop is sitting on her sofa. Her computer is upstairs in her office. Everything is there. That bicycle, that's a Cannondale. Do you know how much a Cannondale bike is? They're thousands of dollars. Okay. That bicycle alone if Michael was going to take anything out of that dang townhouse, it would have been that bicycle. Okay? I'm going to tell you right now, those Cannondales are not cheap. Not cheap at all. He could have ridden off of that sucker. I'd have rather ridden off on that bicycle than walked my happy butt home. I can tell you that right now. If anybody's going to take anything, it'd be that bicycle. So I'm just saying, y'all are just I am dumbfounded at how many people think that Michael actually did this and didn't take the Cannondale. What? Y'all, come on, man. Gotta sound like Joe Biden.
Looking at 279, what is shown on page 279?
The area in front of the couch after couch cushions and the blankets and pillows in front of the couch were moved.
And once those items were removed, was anything else revealed underneath it?
A flip-flop and a cell phone.
Okay. And did you personally collect that cell phone?
No.
Okay. We look at 285. Are we looking downstairs now?
Yes.
And how about 302? Are we looking at the basement at this point?
Yes.
And can you describe for the jury how the basement was configured?
The basement opened up into a large area to the south and had a door connecting the basement to other basements within the complex.
Okay.
Weird.
And
Don't connect my house to your house.
we look at 313. Is that the door that you mentioned that connects to other units in the building?
Correct.
And the condition that the door is in this photo on page 313, is that the condition that you first observed the door in when you were on scene?
Yes.
All of that is stated.
And looking at page 324, you see placard number 4.
Yes.
What was placard number 4 placed next to Mark?
Another contact lens.
Okay, if you look at 326, is that just a close-up of that?
Yes.
And is that still in the living room area?
Yes.
And you look at page 330, what are we looking at here?
The exterior side of the wooden front door.
Okay, and what's the purpose of the marker that is placed there?
That area was processed with white powder for latent prints.
Okay, and when you say latent prints, what do you mean by that?
Any type of pattern left by hand or palm touching an object.
Okay, and so when you process the scene, you mentioned earlier that you took some swabs for DNA. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what happens when you take a swab for possible DNA? What do you do with that swab?
That swab is packaged, turned over to the Detroit Police Department Property Control Unit for proper storage.
And when you package your swabs and they go into storage, are they marked in any specific way?
Yes.
And how are they marked?
They are marked with the report number, the location collected, and what it is a swab of.
Okay, so there'll be a description of what the swab is for potential future use. Is that correct?
Yes.
And as part of your role as an evidence technician, do you get involved in making the decisions of which swabs get sent for follow-up testing versus which swabs don't get sent for testing?
No.
Do you play a role in figuring out which specific areas of the swab or of the residence to swab versus not to swab?
I was directed specific areas to swab at this residence.
Okay, and when you're taking those directions, who are you taking those directions from?
The officer in charge of the scene or members of their unit.
And would that be homicide detectives?
Yes.
Okay. And at this particular scene, did you also do some work to process for potential latent prints?
Yes.
And again, what's the purpose of doing that?
Latent prints can be used to identify a person who has touched an object.
Okay. And again, once those images are taken, do you play a role in determining what, if anything, is done with your images of a potential latent print?
No.
Okay. Did you, other than the DNA swabs of specific areas, did you collect any physical evidence at the scene?
Yes.
And what was the physical evidence that you collected at the scene?
The 2 contact lenses, the vape pen, the laptop, the front doorknob with the lockbox.
And the key, the photo that was shown of the key, did you also collect that item?
Yes.
Okay. And was there any other items physically that you collected and actually removed from the scene as part of your process?
I would have to refer to my partner's report to refresh my recollection.
Okay, and when you say your partner's report, as a general matter, when you are part of the team that's processing a crime scene, you mentioned you were with a partner at this particular scene. Are you usually with a partner or alone?
Crime scene services members operating on platoons 1 and 3 operate with a partner. Generally, members operating on platoon 2 operate by themselves.
Okay, which platoon were you?
I was on platoon 1.
Okay, and so it's common for you to operate with a partner then?
Yes.
And as a general matter, when you and a partner process a scene, does one person get assigned the task of drafting a report documenting the work that was done?
Yes.
And even if, I guess you're not the person drafting the report, do you provide some input into the report?
I advise what may be mentioned in the report. As my partner at the time was a trainee, I reviewed the report.
Okay, so you reviewed your partner's report in
Yes.
this case for accuracy. And what's the purpose of creating a report after processing a crime scene?
Written documentation of what was done and what was collected from scenes.
Okay, and if you took a look at your partner's report, would that refresh your recollection as to whether you actually collected any other physical evidence?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach with a copy of the report? Okay. Handing you a copy of your partner's report. Why don't you take a look at that and let me know if and when that refreshes your recollection. And having looked at your report, do you remember now whether you collected any further items of physical evidence other than what we discussed?
I did not collect any further items other than the items discussed and DNA swabs.
Okay, and in terms of the DNA swabs, approximately how many swabs did you create for purposes of collecting potential DNA at the scene?
There was approximately 19 swabs collected.
Okay, and do you have it sort of committed to memory, like the different items that you swabbed?
To ensure accuracy, I would need to refer to my partner's report.
Okay. Would you mind? I guess I want to go through the house like room by room to just have it run the record what was swabbed. So starting at the front door, did you swab anything at or near the front door area?
Yes.
And what did you swab at the front door area?
The inner panel of the glass pane of the storm door, the front doorknob, and suspected blood found on the floor within the open doors.
Okay, was the lockbox also swabbed?
Not to my recollection, the lockbox specifically.
And is that because the lockbox itself was physically collected and put on evidence?
Yes.
Okay. So moving now from the front door area into the dining room and kitchen area, what was anything swabbed in the dining room and kitchen area?
The disturbed fruit bowl was swabbed for trace DNA, and the LaCroix can in the kitchen sink was swabbed for trace DNA.
Okay. And then going back into like the sort of foyer and hallway area leading to the living room, was anything swabbed in that area?
Multiple points of suspected blood were swabbed from the front foyer and front hallway area.
Okay, and how about the living room area? Was anything swabbed in that area?
The suspected blood in front of the couch was swabbed, and the overturned dates were swabbed for trace DNA.
Okay, and in terms of the upstairs, was anything swabbed in the upstairs area?
Yes.
And what was swabbed in the upstairs area?
The open drawer in the southeast bedroom, a vibrator in the bathroom, a LaCroix can in the bathroom, and the open nightstand drawer in the southwest bedroom.
Okay, and other than, I guess, those swabs that you mentioned, were there any other swabs for potential DNA that you took while you were at the scene?
Yes.
And what were those swabs?
2 suspected blood swabs from the walkways and sidewalk were collected, and trace DNA swabs of the decedent's hands were collected.
Okay. And in the walkway area, in the sidewalks outside, other than the blood that was on the ground on the cement, did you see any other blood in that area?
Not that I recall off the top of my head.
Okay. Did you see any in the grass or in the bushes or anything like that?
Not that I recall.
And just for clarification, because I know we probably talk about swabs a lot. What is a swab? Like, what do you do when you take a swab? Can you walk us through that process?
A swab looks like a Q-tip on a long stick. They come in a pack of 2 and are utilized together as a singular swab. Water is added to the tip to moisten the swab to collect trace DNA. The item is swabbed and packaged within the wrapper and within a proper envelope.
Okay. And all these items you mentioned that you swabbed and the items that you physically collected as physical evidence, do those all get packaged and placed in a secure location when you're done with them?
Yes.
Okay. And do they all get marked sort of in a logical way so that somebody can find them later?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
You can approach this briefly.
Sure.
Hey, I know I'm going out of order, you guys, a little bit, but I had to get this girl out of the way. This is on 1.75 speed, and you can see that if we had had this on normal speed, we'd have been here for like 4 days. So, but this is very good information because we can see what all they actually took evidence of. And what all was actually swabbed. So this is coming together and filling in some gaps.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just have some questions for you, and I'm going to be showing you some photos that were
And
not
you can see
previously
the
shown.
difference between
Just a couple questions first and foremost.
how they treat prosecution
indicated
and
that
how
you
they
arrived on the
treat
scene
the
at 7:30,
defense.
correct?
Correct.
A.m.
Correct.
Okay. And there were responding officers, and you indicated that there was homicide detectives on the scene.
I do not recall when exactly they may have been there in relation to when I saw them.
Okay. But at some point in time, they arrived on the scene.
Yes.
Okay. And they gave you your directions on what type of evidence they wanted to be collected or processed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You yourself, you don't make those determinations on what is collected or processed, correct?
Correct.
Now, you indicated that you did a DNA swab on various items, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You indicated that you did a DNA swab on a vibrator that was upstairs?
Correct.
Okay. Did you do any type of latent print and processing for that particular item?
No.
Okay. Did you do any latent prints from the ADT system?
No.
Okay. And from your observation, that system appeared to be a touchscreen?
Yes.
Okay. And there was also a Mac computer upstairs?
I do not recall.
You don't recall? Okay. We'll get there. If we can go to, I'm not sure. Thank you. We go to slide number 59. Okay, and just be clear, was it you or your partner who took these pictures?
I took the
You took
pictures.
the pictures? Okay. So when the original card said roll, we can go to slide number, guess one. Is there a reason why your partner's name's at the top of this particular document?
That is where I write my partner's name when I write photo cards.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Then we can go back to 59. You would agree that this is a photo of the screen door, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it has suspected blood on the inside of that door, correct?
Correct.
And if we can go to slide 67. And this is the actual door to the front door to the apartment, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that is suspected blood on the outside door handle of this door, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And just to be clear, this would be from the outside, not the inside, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if we can scroll to 68. And it'd be fair that this is a close-up image of that same door with suspected blood on the doorknob from the outside, correct?
Correct.
And we can scroll to photo 69. You would agree that this is the deadbolt lock of that same door, correct?
Correct.
And it has suspected blood on the deadbolt, correct?
I do not recall.
Okay, but it does appear from this photograph that there is suspected blood in the top left corner, correct? Of the deadbolt.
Correct. My apologies. That was clear.
Okay. Go to 145. And this appears to be the hallway, I guess, adjacent to the stairs that is between the front door and the living room, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you would agree that there's a very high saturation of blood on the floor, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you agree that in this particular area is the highest concentration or saturation of blood in the apartment that you noticed?
I'm not an expert in blood analysis.
Okay. But you did observe the scene, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you saw other areas of blood, correct?
Correct.
You would agree that this particular area had more blood in it than other areas?
That would be fair to say.
Okay. If we can go to 156. And this would be a photograph of the stairs that's leading to the basement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you would agree that there is blood that is on these stairs going downstairs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if we can go briefly to 296. And you would agree that this is another photograph of those same stairs that had blood going to the basement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, would it be fair that you yourself did not photograph the actual basement floor that is leading from this particular steps?
I do not recall the extent of which that floor area was documented.
Okay. If we can go to photograph 304. And this depicts the basement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And there's a sink that is depicted in this particular photograph, correct?
Correct.
Did you take pictures of the inside of that sink?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you, would it be fair that you didn't take any photographs of the floor leading from the bottom of the steps to that particular sink, correct?
Correct.
And while you were taking these photographs, were you being directed of every single photograph to take, or was it, did you have some discretion yourself?
I was not being directed in each individual photograph to take. No.
Okay. So it'd be fair that you had discretion on which photographs were taken, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So it was your decision to not photograph the basement floor, correct?
Yes.
Okay. It was your decision not to photograph the inside of the sink, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If we can go back up to 171. Now, you indicated that this was a table that was on the main floor, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And from your observation, this table was not disturbed, correct? It didn't appear to be.
Correct.
Okay. We can go to 268. And this photograph depicts a wallet and some car keys, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it'd be fair to say that this wallet was there, obviously, when you got there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it didn't seem to be disturbed from your observation, correct?
I would say that would be fair.
Okay. And there's also some car keys here, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And from your observation of these car keys, it looks like it's some type of remote, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And on that remote, it seems like it has a panic button on there, correct?
Correct.
Are you familiar with panic buttons?
Yes.
Okay. But you agree that if you push the panic button, then the alarm of the car would go off, correct?
Correct.
And as a matter of fact, you or your partner had to open the wallet in order to retrieve her ID from the wallet, correct?
To the best of my recollection, the ID was next to it when I documented it.
Okay. If you could refresh your memory maybe from the report, just to be clear, on your partner's report. Is that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you or did your partner have to open the wallet to retrieve her ID?
My partner has it documented that the wallet contained the ID.
Okay. So the ID was inside the wallet, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the ID had to be removed from the wallet, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If we can go to slide 320. Okay. And from your observation, this is a table, correct? That was on the main floor, correct?
Correct.
With suspected blood on one of the cars, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You would also agree that there is money on this table, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And obviously the money was there when you got there, you photographed it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You would also agree that there are a couple credit cards, one being American Express and I believe the one for a credit union that was on this picture, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And obviously those were there, just photographed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you indicated that, from your opinion, that there was some type of struggle in the living room, correct?
There was items strewn consistent with there being a struggle, but it could have been anything.
Okay, but you did testify that it appeared to be a struggle, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that was your
Big
opinion,
struggle.
correct?
Correct.
And that was your opinion today, correct?
Yep.
And you also indicated that there was a fruit bowl that was knocked over in the kitchen?
Correct.
Now, you indicated that this particular sheet that was over the body, from your, I guess, estimation, this sheet was to preserve the body from unauthorized viewing?
In a way of putting it, yes.
Okay. So the sheet wasn't placed on the body to maybe preserve the body from debris blowing in from the from the atmosphere or surrounding areas?
It could, yes.
Okay, but when you asked the question, you didn't indicate that that was a purpose for the sheet. From your knowledge, the sole purpose, at least what you testified to, of this sheet was to prevent unauthorized viewing, correct?
As I did not place the sheet, I cannot attest to what the intent when it was placed there, only what I observed it to be.
Okay, and you do remember it was somewhat of an objection when you were testifying to that earlier, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then after that objection, you stated from your knowledge and your experience, the reason for the sheet was for the particular reason you testified to, which was to stop other people, so to speak, from looking at this, correct?
Correct.
So I guess are you testifying now that you don't know why the sheet was placed on? Is that what you're saying?
I can attest that the reason stated is one of possible reasons that it was placed there.
Okay, but you're not sure, correct?
Correct.
Now you also indicated that this blood was damp. Did you collected some of the blood from outside?
Yes.
Okay, and how long after you arrived on the scene did you collect the blood?
I do not recall an exact time frame of when the blood was collected.
Okay, did you collect the blood from the hallway where, I guess, slide number 145? Did you collect blood from this particular area?
Yes.
Did you? Okay. And did it appear to be damp from this area?
The blood from that area was collected from the door. I do not recall what state.
I'm sorry, it was collected from which door?
The door leading to the ground level bathroom. The white door on the edge of the photo.
Okay, so just to be clear, was blood collected from the floor of this particular picture?
I do not recall the exact placement of where the blood was collected from front foyer and front hallway areas.
Okay, but you were tasked with that job, correct?
I assisted with that job.
Okay, you assisted your partner, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and your partner was in a training capacity, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you were pretty much instructing your partner on what to do because you had the seniority in the situation, correct?
I instructed her to collect blood from where the officers in charge requested the blood to be collected from.
Okay, to your knowledge, if the officers in charge ever request you or your partner to collect blood from the floor of this particular picture,
I do not recall at this time.
you don't recall? Is there any way that could refresh your memory, such as the report you're holding?
Yes, I will refresh my memory with the report.
Please do.
Oh, she is high and mighty. Oh, these kids today. Where did you collect blood from? Oh, she mad.
Is that refresh your memory?
The wording of the report states that a suspected blood swab was collected from the floor of the hallway.
Okay. And do you know whether or not the blood was damp when that suspected blood was collected?
I do not recall.
You don't recall? Okay. Was that something that maybe was in your report?
No.
Okay. Is that something that you normally put in your report?
No, not always.
Okay. So you testified that the blood outside was damp. Was that based upon something that was in your report or something in your memory?
Based off my memory.
Your memory, okay. So your memory doesn't go as far to remember whether or not this particular area blood was damp, correct?
My memory was referring to blood next to the decedent and that area being damp, not specific to where blood was swabbed.
Okay, I know, I understand that. But you would agree that based upon your memory, you remember that particular area of being damp, correct?
At the time it was documented, yes.
Okay.
Not what
And to
you
be fair,
said.
your memory does not go to whether or not this particular area had damp blood.
There was damp blood observed on the floor. As to whether or not that specific damp blood was swabbed, I do not recall.
Okay. So I wasn't asking whether or not that damp blood. I'm asking, maybe I'm unclear. Maybe I'm getting confused. Just to be clear, this particular area, you need to turn and look at it. This area on the floor, was the blood damp? Yes or no when it was collected?
That blood was damp? Yes.
It was damp?
To the best of my recollection, that blood was damp.
If we could go to photo 209. And you would agree that this is a Mac computer, correct?
I'm not familiar with Mac computers. I can attest that it is a monitor at the very least.
Okay. So did you ever walk around to the other side of this monitor to see there was a computer?
I walked around to the other side. I do not recall observing a desktop type item on the desk at this time.
Okay. Did you lift any latent prints from this monitor?
No.
Okay. Did you lift any latent prints from the desk?
No.
If we can go to 215, you would agree that there's a keyboard and a mouse of some sort there?
Yes.
Okay. So it'd be fair that you didn't lift any latent prints from this mouse, correct?
Correct.
Now, as you're going through the house and you're taking pictures of different items, are you then going back to report to the detective and say, hey, I just saw a mouse upstairs. I just saw a whatever item it is, to let the detective know that, hey, this particular item could have latent prints on it. Did you do that?
I did not specifically tell any officers on scene that there was a mouse on that desk. No.
Okay. Did you tell them about the ADT system?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever suggest and say, hey, maybe I can lift latent prints from this ADT system?
I did not.
Okay. And if you can go to 217, and this is the ADT system that we're referring to, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the best of your knowledge, this appears to be a touchscreen, correct?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay. You didn't see any type of physical keyboard that was associated with this monitor, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you, obviously, took a picture of this. Do you know whether or not that black dot at the top of that ADT is a camera or not?
I do not.
You don't know? Okay. If we can go to 222, and this is the, if we can look at 222, you would agree that this is the inside of the main door to the townhouse, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you would agree that this is suspected blood on this particular door, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and this is from the inside, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you. Questions from the jury?
Don't say yes, thank you. Please state your name and spell for the record.
Okay, so that was the forensic technician, one of them, that collected evidence at the scene. And I don't know if you noticed the stark difference, even though I had it on a little bit faster, because obviously the jury had no questions for her, because I think they were wanting to fall asleep, because she was very, very monotone, very, very, very slow. And that was on a lot of speed. I was almost on double the speed, you guys, and this has still been over an hour video. So what I want to point out again is the very small amount of evidence that they took from the scene. So she even says that they basically only took swabs from the inner panel of the door screen, the screen door, the doorknob, the fruit bowl, the LaCroix can in the sink. Notice they didn't even test the knives that were by the sink. They didn't even test those at all. Now, this is a pokey crime, and they didn't test the knives. They tested the open drawers in the bedrooms, but didn't test the knives. They tested a vibrator, but didn't test the knives. They tested a vibrator, but didn't test the rape kit that they did on her. How much sense does that make? Okay. They, they did so many things that make zero sense, but then they didn't do so many things that make zero sense. A couple of misses for Brian, I will say, is the bike. The bike is a miss. I want to say that, Brian kind of delved a little too much on that covering of her body outside. He could have focused more, the keys, her car keys. That's another thing was a miss for me. Yes, that's a good call out for him that she could have hit the panic button on the car. If she was able to be close to the keys, she could have hit the panic button on the car. That would have gone off, maybe scared off a burglar. But it wasn't a burglar because it was someone that she must have known. Obviously, there was a struggle. Also, I want to point out when he mentioned the word struggle to her and that she called it a struggle, she looked at the prosecution. She looked at the prosecution a lot. I don't know if you noticed, but if you look at her, she's looking at the prosecution a lot during the cross-examination. She's breathing. Her chest is going up and down, up and down, up and down when she's getting cross-examined. And she looks at the prosecution a lot because she's very nervous. I think she was expecting more on the cross, actually. But that struggle part in the living room, she didn't want to admit what she had said at the beginning, which was it was consistent with a struggle. I think it was a miss also with the contact lenses. Why didn't they test the contact lenses? Did they not take those? I think that was a miss for Brian. I think the bike, again, a miss. I think the car keys was a miss. Again, if you're a thief, if you're going to take something, why not take the car, especially a car thief? Okay. You're talking about a guy who's checking cars. You're talking about a guy who has a history of stealing cars. There's a car key right there at the door. Why wouldn't you take the car if that's what your jam is? Okay. So that's a miss, right? I would think that would be something you would use as part of your defense. Like, dude, my dude takes cars. My dude, that's what he does. That's what he's done in the past. That's what he's supposedly known for. So why wouldn't he take her car? Why wouldn't he drive off in her car? Why wouldn't he take this expensive Cannondale bike? I mean, he could have pawned that bike. That bike is, I'm telling you, thousands of dollars, those bikes. So there's so many missed opportunities, I feel like, and I feel like it's on both sides. The prosecution, the detective work here is just amateur at best. Okay. There's so many things. There's no freaking way little redhead leprechaun guy walked in there on his tippy toes through that crime scene without stepping in any blood. And it's proven when another detective gets up there and says why they didn't take any footprint evidence, because he basically says there were so many people in and out of that crime scene that it would have just been pointless to take any footprint evidence because they would have just been checking their own footprints, basically. So I think there's some misses. There's definitely misses on the prosecution part because they're locked in on Michael Jackson Bolanos. So their narrative is going to completely revolve around him and no one else. So they're not going to see their holes. Defense, again, I'm going to say there are some missed opportunities for Brian. Coulda, woulda, shouldas, right? You look back. the ADT alarm, I would have researched that on there where it says that it is not ready to arm, fault chime. I would have researched that. I would have researched the laptop. I would ask, what about the laptop? Did you take the laptop in for testing? Was that something that the officer in charge asked you to do? Where is the laptop? Where is the testing for the laptop? The bicycle, the car keys, the contact lenses. There's all kinds of misses here. Tons and tons. The knives by the sink. You tested the LaCroix can in the sink, but you didn't test the knives by the sink. And what swabs did you take from upstairs in the bathroom? What DNA swabs did you take besides the vibrator? And why would you check the vibrator and test that and not the rape test kit? Am I allowed to say vibrator on YouTube? I don't know. Vibrator, whatever. Anyway, I mean, I'm just curious. So these are questions that I have. If you guys have more questions that you've noticed rewatching this, please put it in the comments and let me know. I am dying to hear what you guys have to say. But going back and listening to this again, it's just like, wow, how did we miss these things? And, you know, I hope that someone from Detroit is watching this. I hope one of you detective is watching this and sees, whoa. And I hope one of you has enough sense to be like, you know what, maybe we didn't do the best. Maybe we could do better. Maybe there are some holes that we could fill, gaps that we could fill, and find the right person and give this woman justice. Maybe your conscience will speak to you. Just maybe. Probably not, because I know most cops and detectives and prosecutors don't want to admit when they're wrong, but maybe, just maybe, you will have a soul. And I will pray that your conscience speaks to you and that you will say, you know, God, give me the strength to go against the grain and search and dig deeper into this case more and understand that there is more out there than meets the eye. And let me not be influenced by all the money, power, and politics going on here in Detroit and Michigan, and find out what happened to Samantha Woll and get justice for her and her family, because that is what she deserves. At the end of the day, do your job and find out what happened to her, because there is no flippin' way little leprechaun man walked into her house, if her ADT system is correct, at 4:20 a.m., living room motion was sensed. Then it went into idle mode at 4:22, and living room motion was not sensed again until 7:52 in the morning. And that matches up, sirs, with the evidence technician arriving at what she says to be 7:40 in the morning, which would make more sense because she got there at 7:40, and the next time the living room motion sensor goes off is 7:52 in the morning, which would make sense. That's about the time when the evidence technicians would gather around, talk about what's going on, get the info, and go into the house. So that's all I'm saying. That makes more sense. Thank you, wherever these thumbs up are coming from. But yeah, I just want to say, yeah, dig a little deeper, Wayne County. Come on. Let's go, Detroit. You can do better. And also vote. I thank everyone for watching. Please, again, do not forget, I am not monetized. I would love it if you would all buy me a coffee on buymeacoffee.com at Racy0000. And please like, subscribe, and share to this channel. The algorithm would love you for that. And so would my channel. My channel would love you for that. And I appreciate everyone sitting through these videos and everyone watching and listening to me rant about this trial and all the complete missing holes and just all the things that hopefully we can find together how in the world and what in the world actually happened to Samantha Woll so we can solve this crime together. I hope that there are some other YouTubers out there, some other people out there that really, really, really want to help solve this, because I want to solve and give this family justice. So I greatly appreciate you all. We're going to continue down this road until we finish it and get to the end line and get Michael out and get justice for Samantha Woll. 감사합니다.